back to the whole podcast, KC. Today we have another TWP employee, Clark Corginus, and I will go ahead and let him introduce his title. Clark, welcome to the show.
Hello, I am Clark Corginus, and I work here at The Whole Person as an independent living advocate for those with disabilities, and I focus on the deaf and hard of hearing services.
Okay, wonderful. How long have you been here at the whole person?
I have worked here over 10 years.
Wow, that's awesome. And what does your daily routine look like here?
So a lot of times I'm responding to emails, I am doing research and networking. I am working with different state agencies, community agencies, working with a lot of clients that need advocacy, access, resources. I'll use my video phone to communicate with those clients, or I'll use email. So that's a little bit of what I do in my daily work, working with the community and the people in the community.
Okay, wonderful. What about what do you like doing in your free time?
In my free time, my most favorite thing is spending time with my family, my wife, and my two children. We are involved in Boy Scouts, so we do a lot of those activities. And then my sons also love soccer. We play soccer in the fall and the spring. I also have one son that is involved in karate, which is have been really enjoyable. And so we also like to camp and learn new information, and yeah, just spend time with the family. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And I think that I heard something along the lines of your children have their own way of communicating with each other that you and your wife don't know. Is that a thing?
Yeah. So my children do communicate in their own way. They speak French, and they also use sign language to communicate, but they also use English. So
Wow.
they do have their own little private communication, but we can communicate with them as well.
That's awesome. French. Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
What's the best way or how do you stay connected with your friends and family?
I have a lot of different ways to stay connected with friends and family. I communicate with, if it's somebody that doesn't know sign language, I will use gestures. I will, use pen and paper to communicate by notes, texting, video phone. And my family, I can communicate with them through sign language, or we'll text, email, call over the video phone. We'll use FaceTime. So I use a lot of those different methods.
Okay, great. Do you have a memorable experience with using public transportation?
Yeah, so when I was a college student, I was commuting and my car had broke down. I needed a backup plan to be able to get to college. I knew that public transportation was available from my home to my college. So I had to get up one morning really, really early and get on the bus and get to school and then take the bus home. And over time, I started to rely on my vehicle less and less. I could use public transportation because you know what? I would get a good nap in on the bus. I could do my homework.
Yeah.
And, eventually I just became independent and was able to use public transportation. And also, it's environmental friendly. It's, taking care of our planet.
Sure. Absolutely. How do you balance your personal life with your advocacy work?
Yeah. So interestingly, I have, very good awareness and judgment as far as setting boundaries. I'm able to separate, my work and my personal life, and just keeping those boundaries and maintaining a good balance. Oftentimes, you know, uh, I'm able to just stick with what I can and can't do, what I can control, and just manage it that way.
What inspired you to be involved in the Missouri Deaf Commission?
So previously, I really didn't know a lot about the Missouri Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing until I started working here. I started working with the deaf and hard of hearing community and different individuals and learning a lot and seeing some, positives and success stories. And the Missouri governor somehow recognized me and asked that I, become a part of the commission, and I was appointed. And so I was appointed as commissioner of the Missouri Deaf Hard of Hearing Commission. And really, it's just to provide the best services for the deaf and hard of hearing community and coordinate services for those that live in Missouri and make sure that their needs are met, they have access to opportunities, and to also just support, their way of living. So we provide support and advocacy through the commission. And again, that's Missouri Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing.
That's awesome. I knew you were involved, but I didn't know how involved. I know you've been to the state capitol. What has been like a memorable experience with that for you?
So I do go to the state capitol pretty often just to work with legislators, really to provide exposure and awareness about deaf and hard of hearing individuals, their, community, their passions, their living situations, and just getting exposure to the legislatures about meeting the needs. And so I provide education, training, give facts so that they can see what deaf and hard of hearing individuals' needs are and how to accommodate and improve on accessibility. So going to the state capitol, is pretty often reoccurrence for me, and I really enjoy going there. It's a beautiful capitol. The whole building is just beautiful and fascinating. The history, the art within it, and making those connections and within people's experiences and lives has been really wonderful.
That's awesome. What a great experience. How do you keep up with news and developments in the deaf community?
So I keep up with the latest developments in the deaf community by following social media. I use social media. I subscribe to different newsletters that I get by email, and I check different websites online just to make sure that I get as much information and news as I can, and then also network with friends and family and the community and just staying involved. So that's how I've been able to stay connected. And then also I make sure to share different events and information to the deaf community. So
Wonderful. What would you say are some of the biggest challenges on your day to day life?
I do face some daily challenges, and there are four main challenges that I probably have faced all my life. The first one being communication barriers. Second, oppression. Oftentimes, people will think that deaf individuals cannot do anything. And then another challenge that I faced is language deprivation. There are just some things that I may have not learned in my life. So just, information and language, being deprived of that. And also facing discrimination. And I know that disabled people, they face a lot of discriminations, but I feel like oftentimes my rights are being discriminated against as a deaf person pretty frequently.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
But, we continue fighting, we continue standing up for our rights, protecting our rights, and overcoming all of that.
Absolutely. So, how do you advocate for yourself and others in your everyday life?
I work with people out in the community that don't know anything about deaf and hard of hearing individuals. So I just will use pen and paper by writing back and forth, text messaging, education. And that's a good way to advocate for myself, is just showing that I can communicate through different means. Also, if there's something that I need information about, I'll just do research on my own and figure out, what are the contact avenues? Who can I get in touch with to better advocate for myself? And so I've been, starting since I was in school and college and even to the present day, I've learned a lot of things on how to advocate for myself. And I am now teaching deaf and hard of hearing people and those with disabilities how to advocate for themselves and empower themselves.
It's so important, and I feel like before I worked here, I didn't advocate for myself enough. I just was like, "Oh, this is just a problem I'm gonna have to deal with." But working here and especially seeing what you and Mickey do, I've learned to more advocate for myself and teach others to do that as well. All right, those are some great answers. Clark, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back with Clark. At TWP Catering, we are more than just mouth-watering sandwiches and salads. We're on a mission to make a difference.
How do we do this? By empowering individuals with disabilities to learn essential cooking skills through our Employabilities program.
Every bite you take supports a brighter future for someone striving to be more competitive in the job market.
TWP Catering, where every sandwich, salad, and dessert serves a purpose. Order with us and make a positive impact today. It's catering with the social conscious.
Welcome back to the whole podcast. Casey here with Clark. We're going to continue on. How do you tell someone new about the Lead K bill?
I'm so excited to share with everybody that the state of Missouri has passed a new law. Lead K is the name of the bill. LEAD is an acronym that stands for Language Equality Acquisition for Deaf Children. And the purpose of this bill is to help all children who have been identified as deaf at birth or have some kind of a hearing loss to be able to grow an awareness of their language and acquire language, to be able to use ASL, American Sign Language, and also English, and to teach these children within the early education environment literacy skills, reading and writing, to be able to help them prepare for kindergarten and then set that success for the rest of their life for their language. It will lessen that language deprivation that a lot of children do face because they don't have that foundation in school, and that certainly impacts their future work environment and will impact their self-efficacy for their future. So if you need more information on the Lead K, I would suggest that you can check their website, which is newly released by the state. And that website is Missouri Early Care and Education Connection.gov. So you can feel free to check that website for more information, or you can also check the national website, which is lead-k.org. And also, if you wanted to ask more questions, you can certainly contact the Missouri Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, MCDHH, and they will be able to answer any questions that you have via phone call or email. We can certainly help our deaf and hard of hearing children get a head start in life and to be more successful and be more knowledgeable and have that good language base, whether it be in ASL or in English.
Wow, what great information that is. Thanks so much for sharing that. And so were you on the committee, and what did you help with?
Sure. When the Lead K bill was passed and then the actual implementation came to be, the commission chose me to take a role in that. So what I did was more of an advocacy role. And so I represented Missouri agencies for the deaf. And that was an acronym, so MOAD, and the Whole Person agency is a part of that. And so we as a commission give advice. And so we meet together as council, and all of these experts, content areas, teachers, parents, hearing parents of deaf children, those who have deaf children, and many, many leaders, audiologists, speech pathologists, a lot of interpreters are also members of this, and staff who work in schools for the deaf, or in a public school mainstream setting. We all come together and we developed some working guidelines, and this took a year. So we really wanted to set a good foundation for networking and for the Lead K to be able to be disseminated throughout the state. And for hearing parents of deaf children, as soon as they're identified as deaf as an infant, to give these families resources and supports to allow these children to acquire language very early, again, whether it be in American Sign Language or in English, for those literacy skills, and have these kids be kindergarten ready. And it's empowering for these families.
Yeah, absolutely. What a wonderful program. I'm so glad that you shared that with us today. Um, what how do you help support consumers in learning independent living skills?
I do believe that independent living skills are very important, for it's a foundational life skill. So if you're trying to navigate life and trying to figure out how to handle issues such as budgeting, or access to accommodations such as transportation or self-care, or food resources, there's a lot of experiential decisions that have to be made. So in teaching these individuals how to be independent and navigate through life, I incorporate a lot of these skills to the overall goal of gaining that independence with some supports, and they can apply to anybody who is disabled, who is deaf, who is blind. Again, it's all about empowering these individuals to feel very self-sufficient. And instead of hitting all of these barriers and being very frustrated and saying, oh, this is defeating, I can't do this, and allowing other people to care for them instead of caring for themselves. So for example, me as a deaf individual, I am very independent, but how do I become independent? As I learn and I research all of these different experiences from other people and then apply it to my own life. And then so others have helped me. So then in turn, I help others to become independent and successful.
I love that. That's so great. What community activities do you enjoy participating in?
For community activities, I really love the diversity. I love to experience traveling, and I like to just partake in a lot of different things. Those things help me just kind of get a different perspective on life. And again, I take those and I teach other people and bring them alongside and into these other lived experiences. And again, it's a journey, and I love to see that.
Yeah.
And I also enjoy being involved in the community agencies, state agencies, service communities, interpreters, and just advocate and just encourage a lot of that positivity.
Absolutely. How has your involvement in the whole person impacted your personal life?
So working here, and the impact it's had on my life, what I have really learned is I've gained a lot of knowledge. I've learned a lot of skills, gathered a lot of resources and trainings, and then through my work experiences, again, applied it to my life. And then, of course, I apply that to others, and teaching them to move throughout the deaf community so it can grow and be more aware. And so that also in turn helps the deaf services here at the whole person.
I agree with that too, because I, was aware of blind low vision advocacy and, noticing things in the public that weren't accessible. But now that I work here and I'm much more educated on other disabilities and noticing things, in the community as well for everybody, like, for example, if the paper towel or soap dispenser is high up, like how is someone in a wheelchair going to reach that? I notice that a lot more now that I work here and I'm more exposed and educated. Um, I think it's interesting. What?
Well, if I can add too, experiencing deaf culture, deaf folks are very visual and they're very aware of things. So impacting features such as color or light, not everything is accessible or caught or lived through auditory means. So we live our lives visually. And so we depend a lot on language. And so that's another part of my advocacy here.
Right. Absolutely. What advice would you give to someone new that's navigating the services that the whole person has to offer?
If there was an individual who was seeking services here at the Whole Person, certainly I would ask them what their goals were. What are your passions? What are your desires? What do you need? And then tailor fit services here to their goals, and whether it's connections through the community or if it's services or if it's advocacy, just to kind of really find out what would fit them the best, and then share and support them through their journey until they were satisfied and their goals were met. And then we rinse and repeat with the next consumer that comes in, and we just do that over and over again. Sometimes people just forget things, or they aren't aware of how best to advocate for themselves or express themselves. And so we are open here at the Whole Person. We welcome anyone. And so we just do a lot of listening and asking questions and seeing what they need, and do our best to help guide them through their journey to help them live a successful life. And again, it's an individual basis, and hopefully then they will take that on and share that with other people in their circle. And again, deaf, hard of hearing individuals, if you're blind, low vision, deaf, blind, we are here to empower and to motivate them to live their best life.
Absolutely. Those are such great answers. I thank you for your time, Clark. Was there anything that you wanted to add to this interview that we didn't ask, or that you want people to know? I feel like you did a really good job of covering most topics. You good?
No, I think that's all.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here with us today. We really enjoyed our time with you and learned a lot as well. Thanks again. Thanks so much for being here with us today on the whole podcast, KC with Clark. As always, we have our bowling as the third Wednesday of the month at KC Bowl and KCK. We have our Big Deal Classic pickleball and cornhole tournament coming up at Chicken and Pickle in Overland Park. If you're interested in sponsoring or playing, you can check out more details at thewholeperson.org/bigdill. We'll see you next time.